Shalom, John.
Shalom, Judith.
And we welcome you all again to our overview of one of my favorite books in the Torah, Devarim or Deuteronomy, which means words. And it starts, the Parsha for this week is from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 3, verse 22. And in this book, I'd like to say, Moses bids farewell. Moses sums up all of the Torah to this point, the journeys of Israel, and more importantly, he puts everything into perspective, because what God is trying to do is to correct things that had gone awry in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. And so this is God's plan for redemption. And it's all about Yeshua, as one of our teachers likes to say. So this is exciting. I think of all the books in the Torah, this has a lot of heart and soul, because Moses knows that he's about to be gathered unto his kin. He's about to die. And so he's trying to impart as much as he can before that happens.
Yes, Devarim is, I guess, translated words, but they're mostly Moses' words. And as you said, it's a review of basically the first four books. And in the first four books, it's mostly God's words. So Moses is reviewing it, and he's using a very, a technique that was very common in that time. It was written in the form of a treaty. And I won't go through the various stipulations of the treaty, because something else struck me, which I thought was quite interesting. That Moses, at the beginning of the book, he wrote one thing that he had to, or God sent him out to fight Shihon and Og. And they had to be defeated before Moses could continue to write the book, because he said, after defeating these two kings, these were great kings, these were powerful kings, then he continued his writing. And what does these two kings represent, Shihon and Og? They represent the powers that are in place to prevent the children of Israel from entering the land, fulfilling the promise, and bringing about the rectification of the redemption of man, basically to reverse what Adam had done in the garden. These are the same forces that prevent us from believing in God. These forces are very smart, they're very keen, and they're very dangerous and powerful, and you can't take them lightly. They will use cunning words, such as the snake in the garden, the most cunning creature of all. And when you see an individual who is bent on preventing you from faith in God, that's what the person represents, either the snake or the two kings. They are trying to prevent you from fulfilling your destiny or your request of believing in God, bringing about the reversal of what Adam had done in the garden. Christ was the one who finally did it. If the Jews didn't end up in Israel, Christ wouldn't have come.
Yes.
So they are opening the door for a Messiah to come to fully bring about the rectification of man and reversing what Adam has done. These kings represent the obstacle to fulfilling that promise.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You said that the Jews had to be in the land in order for Messiah to be born. And guess what? The Jews have to be in the land in order for Messiah to return.
Right.
And so, as we talked a couple of weeks back in our Torah study, you mentioned that the Jews need to go to the land in order to untie the land.
Right.
And that's so important. And why do you think the forces of darkness are so against Israel being a nation now? They know to keep the land locked, to keep it in darkness. But thanks be to God that Jesus, Yeshua, he did it all. He He has the keys. And so we are excited at this Devarim because, again, it leads up to the high holy days. Rosh Hashanah, Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. So we are preparing in that sense because at this time, many believe around these high holy days that the Messiah will return again, and so that's why we are so excited. We are building anticipation, and again to see what Moses will say to Israel before he's gathered to his kin. This is exciting. So we hope that you'll join us for Shabbat, the full Shabbat lesson, where we will go into depth into all of this. Anything you have to say?
No, hope you get a chance to hear us for our full version of Devarim.
Yes. Thank you for joining us for the overview, and hopefully we'll see you on Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.
Be still, my soul. The Lord is on thy side. Bear patiently